There are over 200 different types of dragons in mythology from around the world. So in this series, we will be taking a look at some of the most interesting ones. In general, dragons symbolize power, strength, and wisdom. They're usually depicted as being very intelligent creatures who can speak and interact with humans, often acting as guides or mentors to young heroes on their quests. Dragons also have a strong connection to nature and the elements, and they're often seen as guardians of sacred places or artifacts. Some dragons are benevolent and helpful, while others are more neutral, only acting out of self-interest. And then there are the evil dragons, which are typically huge, terrifying monsters who hoard treasure and breathe fire. They're often the ultimate challenge for a hero, and slaying a dragon is a common way to prove oneself worthy of becoming a legend. So join us as we explore the many different types of dragons that exist in myth, from the smallest to the largest, the good to the evil, and everything in between. We'll learn about their different abilities and origins, and we'll see how they've inspired stories, art, and culture throughout history. They breathed fire in the West. They brought storms in the East. But in every corner of the ancient world, dragons ruled the skies. Distant memories of gigantic winged reptiles, fossilized dreams of monsters that haunted their waking lives. Or were they real? Did these legendary beasts once prowl our planet before dying out and leaving nothing behind but stories, statues, and scattered bones? It's me, and you're watching this channel. Join me today as we conduct an archaeological excavation of 5 dragon legends that shaped ancient civilizations. 5. The Lung Dragons of Imperial China. The Chinese dragon is one of the most recognizable motifs in world mythology. It appears in the earliest historical records from the Shang dynasty, 1600–1046 BCE, when rulers claimed to be descended from dragon ancestors. Later, during the Han dynasty, 206 BCE–220 CE, a cult of the dragon arose, possibly influenced by contact with nomadic horse cultures in the steppes to the north. During the following 3 kingdoms period, the cult reached its peak, particularly in the kingdom of Shuhan. After falling into decline during the Song dynasty, it experienced a brief revival during the Yuan dynasty under the Mongols. And it was in this context that the famous legend of the 9 sons of the dragon took shape, each son endowed with a unique set of skills. This figure would become the quintessential symbol of the Chinese Empire. According to legend, when the Yellow Emperor defeated the tyrant Qi Yu, his army was demoralized and on the verge of collapse. Just as all hope seemed lost, 9 magnificent dragons emerged from the river ocean and joined the fray. The Yellow Emperor rode atop the largest dragon, who became known as Chong, or the Heavenly Pillar. Together, they triumphed over Qiyu's forces, and the Yellow Emperor's descendants inherited both the mandate of heaven and the power of the dragons. The 9 sons became spiritual guardians of the empire, each assigned to a cardinal direction, an element, and a constellation. Of course, there's no evidence that any of this ever happened, but the legend serves an important function. In a largely agricultural society where floods and droughts could devastate entire provinces, the sky dragons served as a link between heaven and earth. They controlled the weather, bringing life-giving rains and averting natural disasters. Most importantly, however, they represented the emperor. It was he who embodied the dragon's power, and it was he who maintained the cosmic order by keeping the powers of chaos at bay. Dragons also played an important role in Chinese medicine, appearing on many ancient tombs as guardians of the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. However, for ordinary people, dragons were mostly benevolent, bestowing wisdom, good fortune, and immortality upon those worthy enough to encounter them. 4. The Leviathan of the Hebrew Scriptures. Dragons appear frequently in the Hebrew Bible, where they're usually associated with chaos and destruction. In Isaiah 27, we read of a day when the Lord will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, the coiling serpent, and the monster of the sea. Leviathan is described as having 3 parts: the behemoth, which refers to a wild ox and symbolizes land, the Tannanim, which refers to dragons and symbolizes the sea, And finally, the behemoth, which symbolizes chaos. In the book of Job, we learn that God made a covenant with day and night. To some scholars, this suggests that the sun and the moon are eternal enemies of darkness, a view that would have been reinforced by Babylonian influence after the destruction of Solomon's temple in 586 BCE. To others, the passage alludes to a time before creation, when the dawn was not yet separated from the darkness. So it was that the gods fought against the Leviathans, primordial giants whose corpses became mountains and whose bones formed the coral reefs. According to the Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, the Midrashic commentary on the Torah, the Leviathan was a huge fish that God created on the fifth day, but it rebelled and ate all of the birds. So God sent the behemoth to slay the Leviathan and feed the birds. And it was only when both monsters had been vanquished that the world was ready for humans. Obviously, this story is deeply symbolic, but it raises an interesting question. Why did ancient Hebrews associate dragons with such overwhelming evil? Well, while there are many theories, it's possible that the Israelites encountered remains of mosasaurs, giant marine reptiles that lived during the Cretaceous period. Mosasaurs are known from numerous fossil finds in North Africa, Western Asia, and Europe. And it's entirely possible that some bones made their way into the hands of early Israelites, inspiring tales of sea monsters that inspired terror in the hearts of men. Type 3. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, Mesoamerica. The feathered serpent is one of the most popular motifs in Mesoamerican art. Depicted as a combination of a snake and an eagle, this hybrid creature represents the union between two powerful forces of nature, earth, and sky. As a result, the feathered serpent was often associated with rain and fertility, acting as a mediator between the divine and human realms. In fact, many Mesoamerican cultures believed that the feathered serpent was the incarnation of a god, most notably Kukulkan by the Maya, Quetzalcoatl by the Aztecs, and finally Ehecatl by the Nahuas. According to Aztec legend, Quetzalcoatl was born from the blood of a sacrificed god, and so from the moment of his birth, he was destined for greatness. Eventually, he rose to become the most revered member of the pantheon, presiding over the arts of peace, culture, knowledge, and craftsmanship. But Quetzalcoatl wasn't always peaceful. When he returned to his homeland after traveling the world, he found that it had been taken over by his evil brother, Tezcatlipoca. A long war ensued, and Quetzalcoatl nearly perished when his brother dipped him in a magical Chalcutliquahuitl and hurled him into the sea. Fortunately, he was rescued and carried back to land on a raft made of human hearts. Here, he rested for 4 years until his power was restored. But upon his return, he was forced to flee again. This time he walked to the east until he reached the rising sun, where he ascended into the sky and became one with the stars. From up above, he continued to watch over his people, returning every 52 years in the form of a shooting star. This myth may allude to the actual discovery and settlement of Mesoamerica by migrating peoples from Asia. Many scholars believe that this process occurred around 13,000 years ago when humans first crossed the Bering Strait during the last ice age. Others argue for a much later date, like Michael E. Smith, who believes that migration didn't begin until around 2000 BCE. Regardless, it seems clear that the ancient inhabitants of Mesoamerica knew that the earth is round and that it's inhabited on the other side by another race of humans. 2. The Zmei Gorenik, Slavic folklore. In Slavic folklore, dragons are known as Zmei Gorenik or Zmeu. They're typically depicted as 3-headed serpents with 3 pairs of wings and 3 claws on each hand, which means they can breathe fire, fly through the air, and unleash devastating storms. The most famous of these dragons is the Zmei Gorenik, or Gorenik's dragon, who serves as the antagonist in the epic Russian tale of St. George the Victorious. The story begins with the ruler of the city of Lika, who is tormented by a terrible dragon that demands tribute every Friday. When the princess refuses to give up her golden apples, the dragon threatens to destroy the city. So her father makes a deal. He offers his daughter's hand in marriage to whichever hero slays the beast. Soon 3 knights arrive. 2 of them are princes from neighboring lands, but the third is merely a lowly stable hand, though he too wishes to win the princess's hand. Now, to everyone's surprise, it's the stable boy who volunteers to slay the dragon. And so the princess lends him a ring that turns everything it touches to gold. With the ring in hand, the stable boy approaches the beast and gets swallowed whole. He then stabs the dragon with a dagger, and when it dies, the city is freed from its tyranny. For obvious reasons, this story has been interpreted as an allegory for Christ's sacrifice. But it may also represent a genuine memory of a traumatic event, perhaps a volcanic eruption or earthquake that devastated the region. Number 1. Fafnir, the cursed dragon of Norse legend. According to Snorri Sturluson, one of the greatest skalds of all time, dragons appear in the Eddas as reincarnations of dwarves who were transformed into serpent-like creatures through magic. The exact mechanism of this transformation varies from source to source, but the end result is always the same. The dragon becomes cursed and must wander the earth for the rest of eternity. One of the most famous examples is Fafnir, the dragon slain by Sigurd in the Volsunga saga. According to the saga, Fafnir was originally a king named Volsung, who gave his name to the dynasty. But he disappeared after stealing a cauldron of magic from the dwarfs. Sometime later, a new king named Rerir discovered Fafnir in the form of a giant dragon, guarding a pile of treasure in a secret cave. When Rerir attempted to claim the hoard, Fafnir mortally wounded him and assumed the kingship of the realm. Only when Sigurd came along 18 years later did Fafnir's reign of terror finally come to an end. But as the old dragon lay dying, he revealed the location of a second hoard, this one guarded by another monstrous serpent named Fabdakin. When Sigurd approached the cave, Fabdakin warned him that if he stole the treasure, he too would turn into a dragon. Naturally, Sigurd ignored these warnings, grabbed as much treasure as he could carry, and fled the cave. But as soon as he left, Fabdakin followed close behind, determined to reclaim his hoard. And so began one of the greatest adventures in Norse mythology. These legends remind us that myths often begin as memories of creatures too large to forget. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe for more echoes of the past. Thanks for watching. Some dragons never became legends like Smaug or Jormungandr. Their stories were whispered, hidden, or lost in obscure folklore. Today we're bringing them back from the shadows. Here are 5 forgotten dragons lost to time. Number 5. The Lambton Worm of England. In the quiet village of Lambton in County Durham, a hush fell over the town as an enormous worm emerged from the River Wear. It was a serpent of immense size, scales as green as spring leaves, and eyes like glowing embers. For days it slithered around the village, its mere presence a looming threat to all who crossed its path. This wasn't your typical country stroll. Villagers fled their homes, hiding in caves or seeking refuge in the nearby hills. They watched in terror as the dragon continued its rampage. But fear soon gave way to cunning. John Shaw, son of the miller of Lambton, had a plan. He donned a coat of mail, grabbed a large iron hook, and set off to confront the beast. He could have stayed hidden, but he chose courage. John found the worm sleeping near a mill and crept closer. When he was sure he was close enough, he let out a loud shout. The worm woke up and, sensing danger, lunged at him. That's when John struck, jabbing the iron hook into the creature's back. The worm writhed in pain, thrashing about, but John held firm. After much struggle, the hero managed to ride the worm back towards the river. As they reached the bank, John slid off and watched as the dragon disappeared into the water, and there it stayed for 13 days before resurfacing. However, this time, it was not alone. From its mouth emerged 7 smaller worms, each a little less terrifying than the last. And after that, the river ran calm and still once more. Was the lambton worm a truly fearsome beast, or a metaphor for nature's fury? Some say it was real, citing eyewitness accounts and the scars left on the landscape. Others believe it was a product of an overactive imagination, a story meant to teach a lesson. Whatever the truth, the tale reminds us that even in the heart of England, dragons can roam free. Number 4. The Nidhöggr of Norse myth. The Nidhöggr, a name that sends shivers down the spine even today, is a dragon whose venomous bite carries with it the promise of death itself. In Norse mythology, it is a fearsome creature said to lurk in the darkest depths of the ocean. Its scales shimmer with the colors of decay, black and putrid green, and its eyes glow with an eerie, otherworldly light. Now here's where things get really interesting. This is no ordinary dragon. No, sir, the Nidhoggr's venom is not just deadly, it's a harbinger of doom. Those who fall victim to its poisonous bite face a fate worse than death, a fate that chills me to the bone just thinking about it. Once bitten, one's soul is trapped in a state of eternal torment, banished to the shadowy realm of the underworld hell. Talk about a scary story. So what makes the Nidhoggrr such a terrifying figure in Norse mythology? Well, it's not just the poison. Oh no, it's got more tricks up its scaly sleeves. This dragon is a master of disguise, often taking on the form of a human to deceive unsuspecting mortals. It's a shapeshifter, you might say, and that adds another layer of danger to its already terrifying reputation. You never know when or where you might encounter the Nidhoggrr. So if you happen to find yourself in 9th century Scandinavia, beware the whispers in the dark. They just might be the dragon trying to lure you to your doom. But why have I never heard of this dragon before? Well, the Nidhoggrr may not have the same name recognition as Smaug or Vashar Lung, but that doesn't mean it isn't just as important to Norse mythology. Sure, it might not be as prominent in the Eddas or the sagas, but that doesn't make it any less powerful or terrifying. Plus, let's face it, sometimes the unknown is scarier than anything we could ever imagine. What do you think? Do you find the Nidhoggr's shape-shifting abilities and venomous bite unnerving? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more mythical mayhem. You won't regret it. No. 3. The Piasa bird of Native American lore. Before smartphones, TVs, and internet, there were campfire stories. These tales weren't just for spooky season. They were survival, warning, and teaching tools. One such tale is that of the Piasa bird, a monstrous bird-like creature that lurked around the Great Lakes region. It's a mix of eagle, buzzard, and humanoid with red eyes, sharp talons, and a piercing scream. The Piasa bird didn't just build a nest anywhere. It made its home in caves along the Illinois River near modern-day Havana. Imagine finding that out while kayaking. Just as well, most Native American tribes had a healthy respect for nature. Hunting for sport wasn't common, so the Pia bird wasn't hunted to extinction but rather shamed. As the story goes, its reign of terror came to an end when a brave hunter named Red Jacket took it on. It was no easy feat. The Piasa bird was huge, strong, and cunning, but Red Jacket was persistent. Finally, he managed to shoot the bird, which crashed into a nearby river. Though mortally wounded, the bird lived on for 13 years, showing up every winter to die a little more until finally it perished for good. Each tribe had its own take on the Pia bird's appearance and behavior, but overall, it served as a cautionary tale, reminding people to respect nature. Think of it as the ecological Robin Hood. It kept the balance in check. Today, we remember the Pia bird not just as a monster, but as a symbol of nature's power and our need to live in harmony with it. What other Native American myths would you like to hear? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe for more Native American mythology. Don't miss out on these stories and more. Number 2. The Wyrms of France. A dragon without wings, legs, or even claws, you might be thinking of a worm, but in medieval France it was known as a wyrms, a serpent-like dragon that breathed fire. Sounds simple, right? Well, there's more to this wingless wonder than meets the eye. Picture this. It's the Middle Ages and fire-breathing serpents are causing havoc. Crops are scorched, livestock perish, and villagers cower in fear. Enter Saint Martin of Tours, a man who wasn't afraid of a little fire and brimstone. He set out to slay the beast. Turns out the wyrm wasn't Martin's first rodeo. He knew the drill. With a cross-shaped shield and sword raised, he charged towards the dragon. The wyrm wasn't backing down, though. It spat fire, tried to constrict Martin, but the saint stood firm. Finally, after a good fight, Martin emerged victorious. The people rejoiced, hailing him as a hero. But that's not the end of the story. The voivode's head was cut off and hung from the top of a nearby tree. Why? To warn others, of course. After all, you don't want people thinking fire-breathing dragons are just a walk in the park. And that, my friends, is the tale of how one brave man and a tree defeated a dragon. Now go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a single roarsome tale. Number 1, the Bala of Albanian folklore. Now let's talk about a dragon so elusive you might think it's straight out of Harry Potter, the Bala. Picture a majestic, yet terrifying serpent-like dragon soaring through the skies, scales shimmering like emeralds and eyes that pierce your soul. The bull is not your average mythical beast. It's a shapeshifter, taking on human form when it pleases. And let me tell you, its favorite pastime is messing with unsuspecting shepherds. Can you imagine tending to your flock one moment and the next you're having tea with a dragon? The ball lives in the mountains deep in Albanian folklore. It's a symbol of wisdom and magic, but also a reminder of the wild beauty of nature. You see, the bull represents the untamed spirit of the mountains, a force both enchanting and dangerous. Now here's where things get really interesting. The bull is a benevolent dragon. Yes, you heard me right. It's not here to burn villages or hoard treasure. Instead, it watches over the mountains and protects those who show it kindness. In return, it offers its help to humans, granting wishes and guiding those who seek its aid. Just don't ask it to water your plants. It's not exactly good with instructions. But the bola's true power lies in its ability to connect the spiritual and physical realms. It's a messenger between worlds, a symbol of the magic that exists in the unseen. So if you're ever in the Albanian mountains, keep an eye out for a majestic emerald dragon. And remember, if you show it kindness, it might just grant you a wish. Who knows? Maybe it'll even help you water your plants. History isn't just in the past. It's alive in the stories we choose to remember. If you enjoyed this journey through forgotten dragons, hit the like button, leave a comment with the legend you'd want to see next, and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of the past. Until then, stay curious. What kind of person dares to stand against a dragon? For thousands of years, legends told of warriors who faced the impossible, men and women who challenged fire, shadow, and wings of death. These are the dragon slayers, and their stories became immortal. So in honor of those who dared to defy the odds, here are 5 terrifying dragon slayers who did the impossible. 5. Beowulf and the Fire Dragon. The hero Beowulf is a legendary warrior whose name echoes through the sagas of Northern Europe. His deeds, tales of strength and valor that have captivated hearts for centuries. But perhaps his most renowned feat was the slaying of the Fire Dragon, a beast whose fiery breath scorched the countryside and whose mere presence struck terror into the hearts of men. The dragon's reign of terror shook the kingdom of the Geats. Its hot breath melted towers, and its claws tore through shields and armor like they were made of paper. It breathed out fire and consumed whole villages in its insatiable hunger. It was an unstoppable force of destruction until Beowulf decided enough was enough. Heeding the call for help from the terrified townspeople, Beowulf assembled a small band of loyal warriors. Together, they ventured forth, determined to confront the menace head-on. As they approached the dragon's lair, the air grew thick with anticipation. The dragon, sensing their arrival, emerged from its cave, its eyes blazing with primal fury. And so, the battle began. Beowulf, armed with a sword, danced around the dragon's fiery blasts, each movement a testament to his courage and skill. The dragon, enraged by this audacious challenge, lashed out with its powerful tail, sending Beowulf crashing to the ground. But the warrior, bruised but unbroken, rose again, his determination fueled by the hope of ending the dragon's reign of terror. In a final, desperate lunge, Beowulf plunged his sword deep into the beast's chest. The dragon, mortally wounded, let out a deafening roar that echoed through the valleys before collapsing to the ground. With the dragon slain, the people erupted in cheers. Their champion had triumphed over impossible odds. And so the tale of Beowulf and the dragon became a saga, passed down through generations, a reminder that even the mightiest of foes can be vanquished with courage and determination. Number 4. Sigurd, the Dragon Slayer. Sigurd, the legendary dragon slayer, hailed from a lineage of valiant warriors. From a young age, he displayed remarkable skill with a sword, his heart burning with an unquenchable thirst for adventure and glory. One day, news reached his kingdom of a terrible dragon that terrorized the land, its scales impervious to steel, its breath scorching the fields, and its mere presence casting a pall of fear over the populace. Despite the danger, Sigurd felt compelled to answer the call for help. He knew in his heart that he was the only one who could end the dragon's reign of terror. So with a heavy heart and a determined spirit, Sigurd set out on his quest. His journey led him to a desolate wasteland where the dragon made its lair. The beast was a formidable sight to behold, its colossal form coiled amidst smoldering ruins, its eyes gleaming with malevolent fire. Fear threatened to consume Sigurd, but he banished it, drawing his sword and charging forward. The battle that ensued was one for the ages. The dragon's fire roared, searing the air, while Sigurd, nimble and swift, dodged its fiery wrath. As the fight raged, Sigurd realized that his ordinary sword couldn't penetrate the dragon's thick hide. Undeterred, he dismounted his horse, leaving it to flee for safety, and engaged the dragon on foot. In a moment of inspiration, or perhaps desperation, he flung his sword aloft, letting it fall upon the dragon's back in a mighty arc. The blade sank into the dragon's flesh, eliciting a roar of pain and fury. But it was a mortal wound. The dragon, mortally wounded, collapsed to the ground, its reign of terror finally brought to an end. Sigurd, battered but triumphant, stood over the slain beast, his name echoing through the wasteland as the slayer of dragons. Number 3, St. George and the Dragon. St. George, a legendary warrior saint, was celebrated for his acts of bravery and his unwavering commitment to justice and righteousness. One tale that has captured the imagination of many is his courageous battle against a fearsome dragon. This mythical beast, with its menacing presence and ferocious demeanor, had become a symbol of tyranny and oppression in a kingdom far away. Legend has it that the dragon's destructive rampage left the townsfolk cowering in fear, their lives overshadowed by the constant threat of its fiery wrath. It was a terrifying presence that seemed unstoppable, leaving the people desperate for a savior. And then George came upon the scene, a young prince, compelled by tales of the dragon's atrocities, set out to slay the beast and free the people from its clutches. Upon arriving at the beleaguered town, he learned of the dragon's most recent victim, a beautiful princess who was to be sacrificed to appease the creature's insatiable hunger. Moved by pity and determination to right the wrongs, George prepared himself for the ultimate test of courage. When the fateful day of the sacrifice arrived, George, clad in shining armor, rode into the town square. His mere presence radiated strength and resolve, offering a glimmer of hope to the fearful townsfolk. Then came the dragon, its scales shimmering, its eyes blazing with primal power. The ensuing battle was epic. The dragon, with its powerful claws and fiery breath, attacked relentlessly, shaking the very foundations of the town. Yet George, agile and resolute, parried its attacks, his faith in God guiding his every move. In a final dramatic clash, George managed to slay the dragon, ending its reign of terror once and for all. With the dragon vanquished, George was hailed as a hero, his name echoing through the ages as the slayer of the fearsome beast. The people rejoiced, celebrating their newfound freedom and the return of hope to their lives. Number 2. Yamato Takeru and the Japanese Serpent. In the annals of Japanese folklore, there existed a valiant hero named Yamato Takeru. Renowned for his bravery and prowess, he embarked on a perilous quest to slay an enormous serpent that had been terrorizing the land. This mythical beast, known as the Yamata no Orochi, was a symbol of chaos and destruction, its mere presence striking terror into the hearts of men. The serpent's destructive rampage had become a plague upon the region, leaving the people demoralized and desperate for a savior. It was then that Yamato Takeru stepped forward, answering the desperate call for help. He set out on a journey to confront the beast, his resolve strengthened by his unwavering sense of duty and compassion for his people. As he ventured deeper into the serpent's territory, the air grew heavy with anticipation. The Yamata no Orochi was a creature of immense power and ferocity, and the impending battle was one that many believed would end in tragedy. When the two finally came face to face, the clash between them was nothing short of epic. The serpent, coiling and uncoiling, unleashed its fury, its massive form shaking the very ground beneath their feet. Yet Takeru, agile and resolute, fought with the tenacity of a seasoned warrior. The battle raged on, each strike from Takeru's blade chipping away at the serpent's colossal form. Finally, with a well-aimed strike, Takeru managed to slay the beast, bringing an end to its reign of terror. In the aftermath of the battle, the people erupted in celebration. The name of Yamato Takeru echoed through the land, forever immortalized as the slayer of the Japanese serpent. 1. Krakus and the Dragon of Poland. Legend has it that in the heart of Poland, nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering trees, there lived a hero named Krakus. Renowned for his strength, courage, and unwavering determination, Krakus became a beacon of hope for a nation terrorized by a vicious dragon. This fearsome beast, with its sharp claws and merciless disposition, had made the countryside its hunting ground, leaving the people living in constant fear. Its menacing presence cast a dark shadow over the land, extinguishing joy and replacing it with despair. The townsfolk, worn down by the dragon's relentless attacks, turned to Krakus for salvation, and heeding their desperate pleas, Krakus set out on a mission to slay the beast. Armed with a sword that gleamed like a shard of sunlight and a shield emblazoned with the crest of his house, Krakus ventured into the dragon's domain. The air grew heavy with tension as he approached the dragon's lair, hidden deep within a dark and foreboding cave. The dragon, sensing danger, emerged from its lair, its eyes blazing with primal rage. And so the battle commenced. The dragon, with its powerful wings spread wide, unleashed torrents of fire, each gust threatening to engulf Krakow in its fiery embrace. Yet he stood firm, his resolve unshaken, his shield deflecting the dragon's fiery attacks. As the battle raged, Krakow's determination only grew stronger. He danced around the dragon's snapping jaws, his sword flashing like lightning, seeking an opening in the beast's formidable armor. And finally, with a surge of adrenaline and a well-timed thrust, he plunged his sword deep into the dragon's chest. The dragon, mortally wounded, let out a deafening roar that echoed through the valleys before collapsing to the ground, its reign of terror brought to an end. With the dragon slain, the people erupted in cheers, hailing Krakus as their savior. His name became a legend, passed down through generations, a symbol of courage and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. And there you have it, 5 terrifying dragon slayers who defied the impossible. From Beowulf to Krakus, these legendary heroes have captured our imaginations with their tales of bravery and valor. History isn't just in the past. It's alive in the stories we choose to remember. If you enjoyed this journey, hit the like button, leave a comment with the legend you'd want to see next, and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of the past. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring the annals of history. Smaug, the boastful fire drake who hoarded the dwarves' treasure in their mountain home Erebor, is probably the most famous dragon in modern fantasy. And Tolkien fans have good reason to love him. His cunning greed and ultimately his spectacular demise in the Battle of the Five Armies are central to the plot of The Hobbit. He's such a pop culture icon that he even has his own entry in the Dictionary of Archaic English Slang, defined as a stupid, bombastic bully, a blustering coward, a worthless fellow. And yet, for all his swagger, Smaug is really not that impressive by comparison to some of the dragons who stalk humanity's oldest myths. Today, we look at 5 of history's most fearsome dragons. Number 5, Fafnir of Norse legend. Fafnir is an odd case in the Norse sagas or stories because while he begins his life as a monstrous dragon, he ends it as a man. Now don't get too excited, because Fafnir spends most of his second form sleeping for 60 years. Still, there's no denying that the saga of Fafnir, the dragon's story as it appears in the prose Edda, one of the foundational texts of Norse literature, is far more grim than anything in Tolkien's works. Fafnir's father, the king of the dwarves, Hreidmar, was killed by Loki, the trickster god, when the latter was in human form and seeking to hide his elven wife Sigyn. Loki wasn't very good at hiding things. When the dwarven king's sons avenged their father by slaying Loki, the gods demanded the return of their slain brother. As compensation, they gave the surviving brothers a treasure hoard guarded by Fafnir, whose name means the greedy one. No surprise there, then, that once he learned magic, he transformed into a dragon and took over his own cave full of gold and gems, which included, according to Snorri Sturluson, author of the prose Edda, the very same treasure that would later be stolen by the legendary Viking Ragnar Lothbrok. This version of the story takes place in a post-Christian Scandinavia, where Christianity is clearly being used as a lens through which to view pagan beliefs. For in the original poem that Snorri adapted, Fafnir is instead a giant serpent who turns himself into a dragon only for his battle with Sigurd, the man who would become King Arthur's mentor. In this tale, Sigurd is tricked into killing Fafnir, who had been guarding the hoard after having earned its protection by helping a farmer named Lit. Or if you prefer your dragons poetic, there's always John Gardner's brilliant reimagining of the Norse myths in The Dragon, where Fafnir is given a much more sympathetic telling. Number 4, Jörmungandr, the world serpent. One of the most haunting images in Norse mythology is that of Jormungand, also known as the Midgard serpent, slithering around the whole earth, so big that it can bite its own tail and keep itself company. The first mention of the Midgard serpent comes from the Elder Edda, written down around the year 1270, where it's described as the offspring of Loki and the giantess Angerboda. Obviously, Odin couldn't allow another prophecy to come true without trying to stop it. So he threw Jormungand into the sea, where it grew into a huge serpent, eventually encircling the whole planet. In the younger Edda, Snorri tells us that one day Jormungand will rise up out of the sea during Ragnarok and devour Odin, which is a shame because Odin is pretty much the only god willing to put up with humanity's nonsense. Jormungandr's coils represent chaos and destruction, but they also symbolize the cyclical nature of time, since the serpent is forever caught in an eternal loop. Jormungand is usually depicted as a sea monster, but occasionally the Eddas call it a lindworm, a kind of wingless dragon common in Germanic folklore. Either way, Jormungand is one of the most recognizable figures in Norse art, showing up everywhere from rune stones to the Bayeux Tapestry. Number 3, the Chinese Dragon Kings. Westerners tend to think of dragons as scaly reptilian monsters, but dragons have always had a dual nature, symbolized by their shape-shifting ability. In many cultures, dragons are wise, benevolent beings associated with water and weather. In China, dragons have been revered as divine animals since at least the Shang dynasty around 1600 BCE. The earliest surviving text to feature a dragon is the 1776 BCE divination classic Yu Guaxi, where the oracular god of dragons tells the ruler of Shang that he'll win a battle against the neighboring kingdom of Song. Over the centuries, dragons became increasingly important in Chinese myth and religion, eventually developing their own pantheon, headed by the Jade Emperor. Each dragon king ruled over one of 4 seas: East, South, West, and North, each with their own consort and children. The eldest of these children was the rain-bringing azure dragon, who became one of the 4 symbols of the Chinese constellations. Chinese dragons are mostly benevolent, but they do have a nasty streak. Sometimes they take human form to kidnap maidens, often as punishment for boasting. But dragons can also be dangerous to mortals. Even in their human forms, dragons can turn back into their monstrous selves at will and eat people. You know, just to remind you who's really in charge. Number 2, Zmaj Gorynek of Slavic folklore, of Slavic. While the Scandinavian countries have the Norse myths, Eastern Europe has their own native mythology, full of fantastic beasts like the Zmaj Gorynek. Zmaj means dragon or serpent, and Gorynek refers to a creature's number of necks, in this case 3. Despite his name, though, the Zmaj Gorynek doesn't look like any normal serpent. It's got wings, a mane of bristling hairs, a sharp beak, and claws. And instead of scales, the Zmaj's body is covered in tiny tiles, which means that if you want to kill him, you can't cut him open. You have to rip off all the tiles one by one. In Slavic folklore, Zmajs are water spirits, and each one guards a powerful magical treasure consisting of either gold or a beautiful princess. And that shouldn't be all that surprising. After all, we're talking about a dragon here. Not to mention whoever removed the last tile from his armor would gain supernatural powers. And if that sounds daunting, it's because it is. Although the hero always wins in the end, defeating the Zmaj Gorynek and taking his treasure, the cost in lives is usually very high. In the Russian folktale, Vasilisa the Beautiful, a peasant girl has to marry the vicious firebird, a winged horse, and ride him into the sky, where she must pluck out his feathers one by one, just like the tiles on the Zmaj's body. But every time she does, Firebird falls lower to the ground, causing villages to be burned up in his flaming breath. Number 1, Typhon. Perhaps no monster struck as deeply into the heart of Hellenic civilization as Typhon, a gigantic dragon-like beast who challenged Zeus to a duel and nearly ended the Olympian order before it began. According to Hesiod, Typhon was the offspring of Gaia, the personification of the earth, and Tartarus, the personification of the underworld, which made him both literally and metaphorically the child of the earth. Given his parentage, it's not surprising that Typhon was huge, able to fill the air with his wings as he flew around the earth. There are multiple versions of the tale of Typhon's defeat, but they all agree on 2 things. First, Typhon was so terrifying that all the gods fled from him, except for Zeus. Second, Zeus defeated Typhon by hurling lightning bolts at him until he collapsed and died. But even in death, Typhon continued to terrify the Greeks, for Zeus split his body into pieces and scattered them across Libya, Egypt, and Cilicia, where the locals turned his remains into mountains. The discovery of Typhon's bones inspired cults across Greece, but none were more zealous than those in Ortygia, where the cult claimed that Typhon's rear end was buried in a local cave. They celebrated him as the Lord of Earthquakes, a title that combined his natural role as son of Gaia and Tartarus with the tremors that accompanied his battles with Zeus. History isn't just in the past, it's alive in the stories we choose to remember. If you enjoyed this journey, Hit the like button, leave a comment with the legend you'd want to see next, and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of the past. Did you know that dragons played a role in the rise and fall of ancient kingdoms? These fierce beasts were not only terrifying monsters, but also powerful symbols of authority and divinity. From the Roman Empire to medieval China, dragons were revered, feared, and worshipped. And today we're going to uncover the secrets of their enduring legacy by busting some of the most common dragon myths that have captivated humanity for centuries. You might be surprised to learn that dragons weren't just scary creatures that lived in caves and breathed fire. In fact, they were seen as benevolent protectors of humans and even gods. So let's dive into the fascinating world of dragons and explore how these majestic creatures have influenced our history and culture. Number 5. The Dragon Standard of Rome. It was a symbol of military might and a rallying cry for legions across the empire. But what did the Dragon Standard of Rome actually look like, and what was its significance? Let's start at the beginning. The Dragon Standard, also known as the Signum Draconis, is believed to have been introduced by Emperor Septimius Severus during his campaign in Dacia in the early 3rd century AD. According to historical records, the standard was a golden sphere, adorned with a winged dragon that could be raised or lowered depending on the circumstances. When the standard was unfurled, it served as a rallying point for the troops, instilling fear in their enemies and boosting morale among the ranks. The dragon itself, as a symbol of power and strength, represented the might of Rome and its emperor. But the story doesn't end there. Historians believe that the dragon standard played a pivotal role in the Battle of Sabes, where it is said to have inspired the Roman soldiers to victory. After the battle, the standard was paraded through the streets of Rome as a trophy, cementing its place in military history. However, the exact appearance of the dragon standard remains a mystery, as no original artifacts remain and depictions in art are often vague or inconsistent. Nevertheless, historians have created various interpretations based on available evidence, offering us a glimpse into the possible design of this iconic emblem. One popular interpretation depicts a golden sphere surmounted by a winged dragon holding a spear in its mouth, while another shows a more abstract representation of a coiled dragon around the staff. Regardless of its exact form, the Dragon Standard of Rome serves as a powerful reminder of the empire's military prowess and the enduring fascination with dragons throughout history. 4. Chinese dragons and the mandate of heaven. In ancient China, dragons were more than just mythical beasts. They were symbols of power, wisdom, and benevolence, embodying the spiritual essence of the cosmos. The Chinese dragon, known as the Long in Mandarin, is one of the most revered creatures in Chinese mythology, representing the harmonious balance between humans and nature. Unlike their Western counterparts, Chinese dragons were not typically portrayed as fire-breathing monsters, but rather as benevolent deities associated with water and rain. This positive portrayal can be traced back to the Shang and Zhou dynasties, when dragons were seen as divine messengers between the heavens and earth, conveying the will of the gods to the mortal realm. During the imperial era, the dragon became an emblem of the emperor's authority, representing his role as the son of heaven. The emperor was believed to possess the mandate of heaven, a divine right to rule that bestowed upon him the power to control the elements and bring prosperity to his people. The dragon's association with water and rain symbolized the emperor's ability to provide for the needs of his subjects and ensure the fertility of the land. The importance of the dragon in Chinese culture is evident in its inclusion on coins, seals, and official documents, serving as a constant reminder of the emperor's divine mandate. Number 3. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. The feathered serpent is a prominent figure in Mesoamerican mythology, most notably associated with the Aztec civilization. Known as Quetzalcoatl in Nahuatl, this deity is depicted as a combination of a dragon and an eagle, representing the union between the earthly and celestial realms. The feathered serpent's origins can be traced back to the mythical city of Tula, where it is said to have emerged from a cave bearing gifts of precious metals and the art of metalworking. As a symbol of wisdom and enlightenment, the feathered serpent was revered by the Mesoamericans, who believed it possessed knowledge beyond human comprehension. The deity's connection to the stars and planets was also significant, with some scholars suggesting that it may have been influenced by astronomical observations and the belief in a cyclical universe. The feathered serpent's influence extended beyond the realm of mythology, shaping the political and social structure of Mesoamerican societies. For example, the Aztecs believed that their ruler, Moctezuma II, was descended from the feathered serpent, giving him a divine lineage that legitimized his rule. The worship of Quetzalcoatl and other feathered serpent deities highlights the profound impact of these mythical creatures on ancient cultures and their ability to inspire awe and reverence in those who encountered them. Number 2. The Welsh Red Dragon. The red dragon holds a prominent place in Welsh mythology and folklore, serving as a powerful symbol of Wales's cultural identity. Its origins can be traced back to the earliest tales of the Mabinogion, a collection of medieval Welsh stories that depict the red dragon as a fearsome yet majestic creature. According to these ancient texts, the red dragon was associated with the kingdom of Gwynedd and its royal dynasty, the Gwynedd. The dragon's fierce nature and fiery breath made it a formidable force, capable of wreaking havoc on its enemies and inspiring both terror and admiration. The red dragon's prominence in Welsh culture is evident in its use as a national emblem, appearing on the flag and coat of arms of Wales and inspiring various works of art and literature. Its image is deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness of the Welsh people, symbolizing courage, strength, and an indomitable spirit. But the red dragon's influence extends beyond Wales's borders, making cameos in legends and myths across Europe. In one notable tale, the red dragon is said to have fought against the legendary King Arthur and his knights, adding a layer of mystique and drama to the already epic saga. Despite its fierce reputation, the red dragon also held a certain allure, representing the untamed forces of nature and the mysteries of the ancient world. Its enduring presence in Welsh culture is a testament to the timeless appeal of dragons and their ability to captivate the human imagination. Number 1. The Imperial Dragons of Japan. Imperial dragons hold a special place in Japanese mythology and culture, deeply intertwined with the country's imperial lineage and natural environment. These divine creatures are believed to be the progenitors of the Japanese imperial family, tracing their lineage back to the mythical dragon king Susanoo, who is said to have wed a sea deity and fathered the first emperor of Japan. According to ancient texts, the imperial dragons descended from heaven to deliver the people of Japan from tyranny and establish a new imperial line. They were seen as benevolent rulers, bringing with them the principles of benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and faithfulness, which formed the basis of Japanese society. The Japanese dragon is often depicted as a benevolent and wise creature, playing a pivotal role in shaping the country's history and destiny. The reverence for dragons in Japan can be traced back to ancient times, with numerous archaeological sites showcasing dragon motifs in art and architecture. The Shinto religion, which originated in Japan, venerates dragons as sacred messengers between the earthly and divine realms, embodying the natural forces that shape human lives. The enduring legacy of imperial dragons in Japanese culture is evident in their continued presence in art, literature, and traditional festivals, serving as a reminder of Japan's rich cultural heritage and the enduring power of mythology. In conclusion, dragons have left an indelible mark on human history, transcending time and geography to capture our imaginations. From the Roman Empire to medieval China, Wales, and Japan, these magnificent creatures have been revered, feared, and worshipped, shaping cultures, inspiring art, and influencing political structures. As we delve into the myths and legends surrounding dragons, we uncover a deeper understanding of the human condition and the eternal quest for wisdom, power, and enlightenment. Whether depicted as fearsome beasts or benevolent deities, dragons continue to fascinate us, reminding us of the boundless creativity of the human spirit and the enduring allure of the unknown. Hey there, history buffs! We've journeyed through 5 dragon myths that have shaped ancient kingdoms, but the adventure doesn't end here. What other legendary beasts have captivated humanity throughout history, and how have these myths influenced the course of civilizations? Share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling tales from the past. Until next time, keep exploring the world of history and discovering the mythical creatures that continue to inspire awe and wonder. Thanks for watching. Dragons are among the most fascinating and revered creatures in human history. Often depicted as noble, majestic, and powerful, they've captured our imaginations for centuries. But what if there's more to these legendary beasts than meets the eye? What if there are dark secrets lurking beneath their seemingly epic facades? Join me today as we uncover the truth behind these myths and explore 5 dark truths about dragons that they never told you. Number 5. Dragon sacrifices. In the annals of ancient history, there exists a chilling tale of dragon sacrifices. A practice so disturbing it has been relegated to the darkest corners of our collective memory. The legend speaks of a time when men believed that dragons could foretell the future. And the more powerful the dragon, the greater the insight it could offer into the mysteries of fate. But this gift came at a terrible cost, for appeasing these prophetic beasts required the ultimate sacrifice: human lives. It was believed that by offering human blood to dragons, their power could be harnessed and their favor secured. Entire villages would come together for these horrifying rituals, their hands joined in a desperate plea for guidance from the creatures of legend. The most prominent example of this gruesome tradition can be found in the ancient Germanic culture, where the dragon was seen as a symbol of chaos and destruction. The only way to appease them, according to their beliefs, was to sacrifice the purest of hearts, the maidens of the community. These young women were chosen not for any special connection to the divine, but simply because their lives were deemed less valuable than those of men. Their fates were sealed with a horrifying ceremony known as the blonding, where they were stripped of their clothing, their hair shaved off, and their bodies painted with woad, a blue-green dye made from the leaves of the woad plant. This ritual was intended to transform the human sacrifice into something more akin to the dragon, a creature of immense power, but also of darkness and mystery. Once prepared, the maidens were led into the presence of the dragon, their fate now entwined with the terrible beast. Number 4. Dragons as omens of disaster. Throughout history, dragons have been seen as harbingers of doom, their appearance an ill omen foretelling nothing but destruction and despair. One particularly haunting example of this belief can be seen in the tales of St. George and the Dragon. In this famous legend, a dragon terrorizes a town, demanding tribute in the form of virgins. When the townspeople fail to meet these demands, the dragon unleashes its wrath, bringing death and devastation to all who reside there. The dragon's presence becomes a dark cloud hanging over the town, a constant reminder of the impending doom. And only when St. George comes to slay the beast does the town find reprieve from the shadow of disaster. This notion of dragons as omens of doom is echoed in other cultures as well. In Japan, for instance, dragons are said to bring with them either great fortune or great misfortune. And it is the same in China. There, too, dragons hold a dual nature, capable of both bestowing blessings and unleashing curses. This belief is deeply rooted in the ancient myths and legends of these cultures, passed down through generations and solidified in their rich tapestry of folklore. 3. The greedy hoarders of gold and souls. Dragons are renowned for their insatiable greed, their love of treasure bordering on the pathological. They are portrayed as selfish, hoarding their vast riches in underground lairs, denying any chance of prosperity to the outside world. But this dark truth goes beyond mere materialism. For in many legends, dragons don't just hoard gold, they collect souls. These terrifying creatures make pacts with mortals, offering them power or wealth in exchange for their very essence, their soul. This pact often proves disastrous, for the dragon always claims its prize at the end, dragging the soul of its victim to the underworld. Such tales serve as a warning, a cautionary reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of staying true to one's values, no matter how tempting the dragon's bargains may seem. The image of the dragon as a soul collector is particularly chilling, adding a supernatural element to their already fearsome reputation. It suggests that their greed knows no bounds, that they are willing to exploit every opportunity to amass not just material wealth, but the very essence of life itself. This dark truth serves as a reminder that dragons, in their relentless pursuit of more, will stop at nothing, even the violation of the sanctity of life itself. 2. Dragons that devoured the innocent. Dragons, in their insatiable quest for power, have been depicted as merciless predators, devouring everything in their path without a shred of empathy. A haunting example of this dark truth can be found in the legend of St. George and the Dragon. In this tale, the dragon's appetite for destruction knows no bounds, preying on innocent villagers and casting a shadow of terror over the land. It doesn't discriminate between young and old, male and female, sparing none in its merciless rampage. This portrayal of dragons as indiscriminate killers adds a layer of terror to their already formidable image. It suggests that their strength and ferocity are not just directed towards grand battles or valiant knights, but can be unleashed indiscriminately on anyone or anything, making them truly fearsome creatures. In other legends, dragons are shown to be even more sinister, targeting specific individuals for consumption. In some tales, they devour the king's youngest child, holding the royal family hostage to their insatiable appetites. This adds a disturbing element of control to the dragon's actions. They are not just mindless predators, but cunning, malicious beings capable of using their victims' loved ones against them. This dark truth paints a grim picture of dragons as manipulative, sadistic creatures, willing to prey on the innocents and exploit the bonds of love and family for their own amusement. 1. Dragons as destroyers of worlds. Dragons have been immortalized in our collective consciousness as mighty, awe-inspiring creatures, symbols of raw power and untamed energy. But what if there's a darker side to these magnificent beasts? What if they are not just majestic, but also harbingers of destruction? The legend of the fire-breathing dragon is perhaps the most iconic image we have of these mythical creatures. Depicted as colossal, winged serpents, they breathe fire with such force that they can level entire cities, reducing them to ashes and cinders. These tales of dragon-induced destruction are not merely figments of our imagination. They are rooted in historical events that have left an indelible mark on our collective memory. In the year 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted, burying the Roman city of Pompeii under a thick layer of ash and pumice. The sheer force of the eruption was so devastating that it wiped out entire cities, including Pompeii and Herculaneum. Eyewitnesses described a scene of unimaginable horror, with fire and brimstone raining down from the sky, covering the ground in a thick, suffocating cloud. This catastrophic event was later immortalized in literature, with Pliny the Younger providing a vivid account of the eruption and its aftermath. His words paint a haunting picture of the devastation wrought by the volcano, a true testament to the destructive power of nature. In the years since, similar tales of dragons destroying worlds have echoed across cultures and centuries. From the mythical tales of the Chinese sea dragon that caused floods and famines to the Aztec legends of the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, who was said to have destroyed entire cities with his fiery breath. These stories are not just myths. They are reflections of real-world events that have left an indelible mark on human history. The image of the dragon as a bringer of destruction is a powerful one, serving as a reminder of the forces of nature that have shaped our world and the enduring impact they have had on human civilization. As we look back on these historic tales, we are confronted with the awesome power of dragons, a power that has the ability to both captivate and destroy. They remain, in many ways, a metaphor for the destructive forces of the natural world, forever entwined in our collective memory. And that concludes our exploration of the 5 dark truths about dragons that they never told you. Dragons, with their mythical allure, have captured the human imagination for centuries. But as we've uncovered today, these legendary creatures are shrouded in secrets that challenge our perception of their nature. From their role in ancient sacrifices, to their association with disasters, their greed, their destructive tendencies, and their chilling habit of devouring souls, dragons reveal a darker truth. They are not just majestic beasts of legend, but complex, multifaceted beings with a history as rich and varied as the cultures that have created them. The study of dragons takes us on a journey through history, culture, and mythology, allowing us to understand not just these fantastic creatures, but the human psyche itself. Dragons are more than just stories. They are a reflection of our deepest fears, our greatest aspirations, and the complexities of the world we inhabit. So as we close this chapter in our exploration of dragon lore, let us remember that the truth, like dragons, often lies hidden, waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed today's journey, please don't forget to leave a comment with the legend you'd like to see next. We love hearing what you'd like us to cover, and it helps us bring you the content you're most interested in. Also, your support means everything to us. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our growing family of history enthusiasts. Together, we can continue to unearth the fascinating stories that have shaped our world and keep the flames of discovery burning bright. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, the truth is out there waiting to be discovered.